as they're pulling this up, I will say I'll keep it brief. I know we're just a few minutes behind schedule and you guys are probably getting hungry, so I'll try to do that. I'll start just by talking a little bit about our agency. For those of you who don't know, Hamilton County Developmental Disability Services, we do fall under the county, but we also have a separate governing board, and we serve people of all ages throughout Hamilton County with developmental disabilities. So that includes everything from early intervention from the moment a child is born all the way through school age, transition age, adulthood, into aging. So really throughout a person's life, they could come to us for services. Some people we do serve throughout their entire lifetime. Other people may only come to us, maybe they just need early intervention and they don't need services later in life. Or maybe they don't need us during school age, but they come back to us in adulthood when they're looking for housing or looking for employment options and that sort of thing. So we really do serve that whole spectrum. We serve as the administrative agent for the Family and Children First Council, which is why we have a lot of people that are involved in helping prepare things for today. Sorry. That's okay. We're good. That's all right. So just to give you an idea of how many people we served about 10,000 people last year. Within a given year, that's about how many people we serve. For youth, some of the things that you may be familiar with is we do operate 2 specialized schools for students with significant disabilities. That is when it's considered the student's least restrictive environment. But in addition to that, we serve lots of kids throughout the county who are attending their home district. And some of the things that we can do around that is connect them to supports through the Family and Children First Council. We also do provide some behavioral health supports and help connect and provide resources to the team. And then we're also connected to the MSY dollars that you might hear about when a child needs funding for some short-term placements when they're in crisis. In addition to that, we are, as you heard earlier, a part of HOPE and are heavily involved in that.
It might be beyond our scope.
All right, I'm hearing that the technology issues may be beyond our scope. So I'll share just in general, the one thing that sometimes can be confusing is what makes people eligible for our services. So we do serve people with developmental disabilities, but the state does have set criteria that we're required to follow. And so for a person to be eligible for our services, they have to have a qualifying disability, and there are certain categories for what is a qualifying disability. And then they also have to have an assessment that determines that they have substantial limitations in a certain number of areas. And so a person might have a developmental disability, but not necessarily be eligible for all of our services. Now, when that happens, we do try to work really hard to connect them to other resources, or there are some services that we provide that are open to anybody with a disability. And so I would recommend, if you're not sure if somebody would qualify or not, I'd still recommend just make the referral. And we are happy to try to connect you with other resources if they're not eligible for our services. The other thing to keep in mind is for a person to be eligible, it has to be a disability that occurs before the age of 22, and it's expected to last throughout their lifetime. So if somebody has something like a traumatic brain injury at the age of 35, or they have a stroke at the age of 55, they wouldn't be eligible for our services. Ours are really something that's developmental in nature. But if that occurs before the age of 22, that could potentially make them eligible. I can see the screens. You guys can't see the screens.
You're right, yes.
Yeah. So I think I've covered a lot of this. Some common services, we do a lot of work around advocacy and family engagement. We help people sort of find their voice through a lot of activities that are organized, and also working with families to help connect them with other families. We have family support services. Those are services and supports. We have limited amounts of funding for each family where they can access things that help support them to be successful in their family's home. Service and support administrators, that is what you might think of as case management. That's something that anybody over the age of 3 can get from us. They have a case manager that helps assess what their needs are and connect them to resources. We have behavior and trauma-informed supports, transition age, especially for youth that are 14 and above that are starting to think about employment. We have services to help support them in exploring employment options and learning what skills they have and what they want to pursue. One of the biggest things that we do is we authorize and help fund waiver services. So if you hear about Medicaid waivers for people with developmental disabilities, that's one of the biggest things that we do is we fund 40% of all the cost of waiver services. So if somebody has a level 1 self or IO waiver, then that's something that we authorize and we fund those supports. We also help a lot with housing and benefits assistance, so we can help people get connected to benefits, maintain those benefits. We don't provide housing directly, but a lot of times we're a resource for helping people navigate that process and find housing that works for them. And then the other big piece that we do is we provide health and safety oversight. So for people living in the community, if you ever have concerns about abuse, neglect of a person with a developmental disability, you can report that to us, and we have a team of people that look into that. And I will keep it brief and leave it at that, but I'm also happy to answer any questions if people have those. All right, if not, thank you, and I think I'll hand it over to you to